Now, centralized zones provide enormous value and security to an environment challenged with managed user identities and permissions and privileges. Centralized zones move the management from the device to the zone and reduce the total number of identities by consolidating them and using inheritance to provide just enough privilege. Consider any organization with both Windows and Unix-based servers. While Active Directory is an industry standard of the directory services within the Windows-based system, it does not solve the challenge of Unix-based systems that are not joined to Active Directory. As a result, users in the organization have multiple identities, a domain account, and local accounts on each server. The challenge is compounded by the lack of management of the UID. In many cases, a UID for one user on one system may be the same UID for another user on a different system. This creates the biggest challenge of audit and accountability when permissions are applied to UIDs centrally. This also creates a security risk of lateral movement, which can often go undetected. Using centralized zones, the UID management is centralized and consolidated to one identity, where permissions and privilege can be configured for a single object. Now, in this example using zones, each user has an Active Directory account and a UID for a Unix system. Alex Foster has been added to the global zones with privilege to all systems in the environment. Bob Hughes is added to Child Zone 1 only and has privilege to the payroll and help desk servers. And finally, John Smith is defined as a local user of App2 only and does not have any other privileges. The zone is only a container, and with this approach, it's not necessary to change file ownership on servers as they are done within the zone. As you progress through this training course, you'll learn more about profile rights and roles that can be applied to users and computers in particular zones. In this next module, you'll learn the process of adding computer objects to the zone structure. When we talk about computer object creation, there is the capability of pre-creating those computer objects before joining them to Active Directory. This provides key advantages during the deployment and migration process. Computer-level overrides can be defined before the computer is added to the zone, allowing for issues to be resolved with the divergent Unix profiles without having to change file permissions at the file system level. User verification can be performed so administrators are aware of who will have access to the Unix systems before the computers are added to the AD. Now, before creating computer objects, remember your zone structure and who requires permission and privilege to the systems. When we pre-create the computers, we'll do this under the zone where the system is going to be added. We'll use the computer node and select Prepare Unix Computer. Now, there are two options available that can be used in the preparation process. We can prepare the computer for an AD join, which is a utility used on the Unix system as part of the direct control agent. And we can delegate permissions for machine overrides. Now, you can select an existing object that's already in the directory or create a new object that's not yet joined. Now, when creating a new computer object, you will need the name of the system, but the domain, DNS, and container will be pre-populated, but be very careful. Now, the container may not be the container you want the system located. Earlier in this course, we discussed the Centrify OU, and inside the Centrify deployment structure is a container for computers. And for management purposes, you may want the computers stored there. The next stage of the computer creation process is to identify the RODC compatibility settings and license type that you're going to apply to the system. You may not make any changes to the service principal names or SPN, but you should review them to make sure the SPNs used by the system are in fact listed. Delegating machine overrides is going to be similar to zone control delegation, and it is recommended to use the Centrify Administrators group as the initial zone control delegation. Now, pre-creating Windows systems is going to be a little bit different. We'll still use the zone where the system is going to be added, and we'll prepare a Windows computer. The difference is we'll need to locate the computer within the Active Directory structure. You'll notice that the system has been added to the zone control container, but there will be no change to the computer object found in the ADUC. It'll simply be a linked reference to the container. Once again, The container may not be the container you want the system located. Earlier in this course, we did discuss the Centrify OU, and we want to make sure that any system that we pre-create for Centrify management is identified and stored in the right location within Active Directory. Now, in this technical demonstration, we are going to focus on Unix computers. We're going to pre-create Unix computers.